Hello, everyone. I just want to welcome you back to my YouTube channel. Today is Tuesday, April the 25th, and it's approximately 5:30 p.m. As you know, I am recording outside. It's actually a beautiful day, and I'm sitting at a beautiful park. And so you're going to probably hear noises in the background, along with some children playing on the playground. These are not my children. I don't have any children. But I am at a public park and there are other people present. So I just want to make you mindful of that. So today I am coming with another message. I think this will be the second one I've posted today. And it is, I haven't done one of these in a minute, but it's a political pause. And I've done a few of these, but I haven't done one in a while. And it's just something that kind of catches my attention as it pertains to things that are going on in our culture and our society it may be political, or I just may, it just strikes a chord with me in some way. Kind of to raise awareness or heighten awareness about situations that are going on. So that's what this is going to be. And it happened about a week ago. As a result of me, I was filling out a survey. I believe it was in reference to a research, a research opportunity, or like how you do surveys for people. So I was filling out one of those questionnaires as it pertained to doing surveys, and I stumbled across, there was a question that I was asked that really bothered me. I didn't quite understand why it was phrased the way it was phrased, and I wasn't able to really give the response that I wanted to give. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm also going to connect it with another experience that I've had recently as it pertains to colorism. And so the question that I was asked on this survey, the way it was worded, was if you are Hispanic or African American, which country does your family come from? And then the options it gave were all Hispanic speaking countries. It did give the option to put other, which, of course, I am African American. To my knowledge, I do not have any Hispanic descent. Of course, I'd have to do a DNA test to find out otherwise, but as I am aware, I have no Hispanic relatives, a bloodline of being Hispanic. So, of course, I wasn't going to select a Hispanic country because those were the only options given. And again, I am not of Hispanic descent. I don't know that any of my family members are of Hispanic descent. So clearly I couldn't choose that option. I went to put other, and I just put I don't know. Because truly I don't know what country my family comes from, per se. And of course my thought was, well, if I'm African American, of course my lineage is going to be in Africa, but I don't know what country specifically. And so that's where I was answering the question. I put other and I put I don't know. Well, when I hit enter, it wouldn't accept the answer. So it's like it was going to force me to choose one of these Hispanic countries, which isn't true of my lineage. And It did give one more option, which was I don't identify with either, meaning, I guess, being of Hispanic descent or African American descent, because the question was, if you are Hispanic or African American, which country does your family come from? So I was very perplexed by this question. I was really disturbed that it wouldn't accept other. I'm gonna be honest, at the time it didn't dawn on me in the other option to type in Africa. That just didn't dawn on me for some reason, but that was my thought process. And so that is why I put I don't know, meaning I don't know which African country my family comes from or my lineage comes from. But I do know that we do not have any, there is no Hispanic country that my family would come from, at least to my knowledge. So I definitely wasn't going to answer that. So it was just a really perplexing question. And I'm like, why did they phrase this question like this? And why didn't they give the appropriate, why didn't they list any African countries? Or why didn't they just list Africa? If you're asking the question to African Americans. And I just wasn't understanding why that was worded like that, why it wasn't allowing me to put an answer of I don't know, because I did put that and tried to enter it and move forward, and it wouldn't allow me to move forward. So again, it was like it was trying to force me to choose a Hispanic country, which I wasn't going to do because I felt like that's lying. As far as I know, my family does not come from a Latin American country. And that is all that was listed, Hispanic speaking countries, outside of the other option, which I attempted and it wouldn't allow me to take. And outside of the option that said, I don't identify with either, meaning being Hispanic or being African American. So because I was not going to choose a Hispanic country, because that's not true, and it would not accept other, I ended up selecting the option I don't identify with either, which wasn't correct either. Clearly, I'm African American. But I had to make that choice because of how the question was worded and because the system wouldn't allow me to move forward. So that bothered me, and I just began to question, like, okay, if this is a research company, I'm sure they review their questions. How did this question get on this survey? How did they not catch this? How did they not catch, number one, why didn't they list, if nothing else, Africa? And why is it that the other option, when I put I don't know, wouldn't allow me to move forward? So I feel like I was being forced to identify myself with a Hispanic country, and I'm not. And so I was wondering if my thought process, well, are they trying to group Blacks and African Americans as one? Or forcing African Americans to choose a Hispanic country when that is not it may be some African Americans. I'm sure some African Americans may have some Hispanic blood or bloodline or lineage. But for the most part, okay, let's just break it down. We are identified as African American, meaning our origins are in Africa, but we're born in America. So why did it not give me the option to choose Africa? And because I would have chosen that. And it wouldn't allow me to type it in. It wouldn't accept it. So it literally was like, I either have to choose a Hispanic country to identify with, or I have to select I don't identify with either, meaning I don't identify with being Hispanic or I don't identify with being African American, which isn't true. I do identify with being African American. That's all I know myself to be. So it just really bothered me. And I really began to question, number one, how did that question get out and get put on this survey? And you can't give an appropriate response. I felt like they should have just left the question as if you are Hispanic and left the African Americans out of it. But, again, I was also sensing that, okay, are they trying to force African Americans to identify with a Hispanic country? I mean, that was really my predominant thought, when that is not our lineage. So I began to question, there are so many strange things going on around us that I don't doubt that. Is that like a hidden agenda? And I'm not like some like conspiracy type person, but because of how that was worded, it's the only conclusion I could draw. Are they trying to force African Americans to identify as Hispanic, or trying to group Hispanics and African Americans together? It's a question. It's food for thought. Because clearly the question wasn't worded properly for me to answer it properly. And so I ended up having to deny my own heritage because of how the question was worded. I wasn't going to select a Hispanic country because I'm not Hispanic. And neither do I know my family or my lineage to be of a Hispanic nature or from a Hispanic country. So that was like what prompted me to do this. So I would really love to know if anybody else has experienced anything like that, either and perhaps in another form or fashion, or heard anything politically or about that situation. I mean, is there some type of an agenda to have African Americans and Hispanics in the same category? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. I don't have the answer. So now I'm going to segue into something else that happened to me the same week as it pertains to colorism. Now, I've done a video before about colorism slightly, and like my experience with it. Of those of you who know what colorism is or don't know what colorism is, it's basically discrimination from your own people. That's basically what it is. Being discriminated against by your own race. Oftentimes we see it in respect to, lighter versus darker complected people. For me, it would be African Americans. Most of the time we see it as, I think you see it both ways. You see light people who feel that light-skinned African Americans feeling as though they're being discriminated against by darker-skinned African Americans, and you have darker-skinned African Americans that feel as though, they are overlooked or treated differently than light-skinned African Americans. And I believe it also plays out in other cultures where there's a hue or a variety of shades of color, including the Hispanic culture. So that's just a brief definition, at least my definition of it. So let me tell you what happened to me. Well, those of you who know, you know that I've been dealing with, homelessness. And in this, like, I haven't had any income coming in since the PUA stopped in June of 21. So it's almost been 2 years, y'all, since I have had any income coming in. Literally no unemployment, nothing. In fact, on my taxes this year, I have nothing to report. First time ever in my life that I made literally zero. I no W-2, no 1099, like nothing. I have zero to report. But I'm still going to file them. And I mean, like, this is the first time in my life that's ever happened since I started working at like 15 years old. Ever. Like, I have $0 to report. So all that I have been living on really is the kindness of strangers, like people giving me money to, that I can go and buy things that I need. I do receive food stamps. My food stamp amount is $281 a month. And that's for a single person with no children, which is what I am. That's the most I can get. In fact, they just increased it a few months ago. It was $250, and I'm here in Miami. But they raised it to $281 a few months ago. And again, of course, because of my situation, not having access to a stove, not being able to cook, not being able to meal plan, I'm literally homeless. I'm literally like on the streets. That money goes quick because I just have to buy what I can eat at the moment. And groceries have gone up. The closest one to me was a Publix, and of course, they're more expensive. So my money is only lasting like half a month. Like if I make it to 15 days, that's good. And then I'm either forced to fast or just figure it out, depend on the kindness of strangers. But literally, I've depended on the kindness of strangers. I don't solicit for money. I don't panhandle. If someone gives me something, I'm gracious and I'm grateful. There are times when I don't accept it. It just depends. So that's my situation, and that's what I've been dealing with. And so in this whole journey of almost 2 years with no income and just, strangers coming up to me, blessing me with money. Sometimes they've gone out and bought me things. I'm very reluctant to eat things that have been bought, just because of everything that's going on with me. So that's something I judge case by case. Most of the time I'll throw it away. I'd much rather just receive the money to go get what I need. Because I'm dealing with some really interesting circumstances. But nevertheless, the point I'm trying to make is, in all this time of just depending on the kindness of strangers, so I've not really had too many African Americans to give me anything. Now, let me tell you what prompted that. So I was at Whole Foods about a week ago, and there was a gentleman that came up to me. He wanted to buy me breakfast, and he asked me to just follow him in the store. He was going to buy me breakfast, and he was going to give me something to eat. I was like, great. So I did. I followed him in the store. This particular Whole Foods didn't have a breakfast bar, so I just got something to eat. I got a plate to eat, and it was pretty early. So the gentleman paid for my food. I believe my food was around $15, what I got. He bought me something to drink, bought me some water. So I'm not sure what the total, and he got some things for himself as well. So I'm not sure what the total bill was, but I know he spent at least $15-$20 just on the food. He paid for it. He then gave me over $20 of cash and went on his way. I thanked him so kindly, and he went on his way. So after that experience, I realized, I think that is the first time that anyone African American has done anything for me. In all this time that I've been out here, that various people have been like giving me money or whatnot, buying things for me. I've had people buy things for me, blankets, etc. If I felt comfortable keeping it or whatever. But I was like, I think this man is like the first African American to do anything for me. Most of the people that have been giving me things have been, honestly, either Hispanic or white. And so that was such an eye-opening experience. And the reason I'm connecting that with colorism is because, I've experienced that in my culture or my race, and, being referred to as a Oreo. Now, when I was growing up, that term was used to identify people that were multiracial, primarily. So I don't know myself to be multiracial. I don't identify as being multiracial. But then there's another connotation to it, which is the whole black on the outside, white on the inside, meaning I'm not black enough. Okay? So I believe that's the way it's being used to refer to me. That people in my race who probably don't even know me don't think that I'm black enough. And so that's been a really hurtful. I really try not to think about it, but after this man did this, it really triggered a lot of emotion for me. But just being viewed in that way by your own people, it's hurtful because, number one, who are you to tell me what's black enough? There are all kinds of black experiences. Not everybody's experience is going to be the same because we come from different backgrounds, different upbringings. Some are more privileged than others. Who made you the authority on the black experience, and let alone to decide whether or not I'm black enough? I am uniquely wired by God, and I love all people. But if that translates to you as me not being black enough, then that's your issue. It's not mine. So when this man did this for me, this black man, it really just, it gave me a sense of hope, because I really didn't realize until that moment, that fact, that I don't believe anyone African American, male or female, has ever given me anything in all the time that I've been out here. And then the Holy Spirit did prompt me. I recalled an incident some months ago, and there was an African American man that approached me. I was sleeping outside of this, in this little plaza, and he worked in the plaza. It was early in the morning. He approached me, and he gave me $5 and told me to go get some breakfast. So there was one other African American male that did something for me. But outside of those two incidents, no one, not even an African American female, which we tend to view females as more giving than males, but literally that's it. And this gentleman did above and beyond. I mean, he bought me something to eat. Whole Foods ain't cheap. and then gave me some cash after he paid for my food, which was a great blessing to me because I was able to go and get some things that I needed. Being on food stamps don't cover, it only covers food, and you can't even buy hot food. So, if I need personal items like deodorant and things of that nature, paper towels, napkins, whatever little items I might need, personal products, that's not covered by food stamps. So I was so grateful that this man, did this for me, because it allowed me to be able to go and get some things that I needed that were non-food items. And like I said, it also just renewed my hope in my people. Because I'm going to tell you, I felt as though I've been sacrificed by them. And that's a horrible feeling to have with your own people. But that is somewhat the conclusion that I've come to, on top of the fact that I just really can't trust anyone at this point. So that gentleman doing that for me that day just renewed my hope in my own people, and specifically, African American men. So I thanked him then, and I thank you now. I thank you for doing that, and I believe it came out of a right heart and a right motive. I have no reason not to believe it. So I pray that God blesses you in return. So that's just kind of what I wanted to share in this political pause. I'm truly grateful. This journey that I have been on has been extremely trying in so many ways. And it's given me some serious trust issues, and yet I'm still hopeful about so many things. And when things like that, when someone just comes along and does something like that, you just don't ever know the impact that it'll have on a person's life, especially if they're going through some serious trials and tribulations. So that was such an impactful moment for me, and it really made me face what I was really feeling about my own race. And I needed to have that moment. I am who I am. I am who God made me to be. You may not understand it, and that's okay. As long as I'm okay with me, and as long as I know God is okay with me, that's all that matters. I'm not an Oreo. I'm not a black person who wants to be white or who is trying to be white. I am me, completely, authentically me. I am wired by God, perhaps in a way that you weren't. And I'm okay with that. So any issues surrounding my where I stand, I'll tell you where I stand. I stand with God always. I don't stand based on the color of my skin. I don't treat people based on the color of their skin. I believe in doing what's right for all people, concerning all people. And that's just where I stand with it. You hear the screaming in the background. That's what we're dealing with. But anyway, that's all I have to say in this moment, in this political pause. I would love to hear some feedback. And God bless you. I'm so grateful for you. Thanks for listening. Until next time.